This is always really interesting because a lot of people, even if they're not dog people, they tend to, oh, just give them a scrap, give them this. Well, really, there are some foods that dogs can't eat.
There are some, and it's a safety margin. We all want to share because to nourish is to nurture, you know, that whole relationship and show love. But it's a big gray zone. As you can see on the table, it all looks like something we can consume, but there's a fine line of what's safe for them. And
quite honestly, too, we just want to really pump the brakes when it comes to introducing that type of food, right? We don't want them to eat it all the time.
The key is conservative. So every now and then, just like you and I mean, we can't indulge on chips day in and day out, but you know, every now and then we can skip that in and kind of treat ourselves. And so the same approach would be for them when we're reaching for our human foods.
Little something here and there. Okay, fruits and vegetables. This is something that you say can add fiber to a dog's diet and maybe some vitamins and nutrients?
Very much. People usually are trying to shop for, you know, outside the box of the commercial run-of-the-mill milk bones. And so the goals are either A, to look for something that's either lower calorie, low fat, something that's healthy, or maybe just something more natural to indulge in their pet. So these would be things that would provide additional nourishment because they are rich in vitamins and minerals and a lot of great things that are healthy for animals.
And even like boiled unseasoned chicken breast, canned tuna in water, which is really interesting, and just plain boiled unseasoned white rice?
Yes, just like the chicken. So basically, if we season something like you and I, we're going to be creating flavor. They don't need that portion of the flavor. So that's more for us. So for them, keeping it bland, keeping it simple is the healthiest route to go. It's much easier on their digestion.
What's so funny is I smell the peppers and it tucks his nose. I think he can smell it too.
All right, let's talk about the foods. Here's the continuation, by the way, of the list. So carrots, pumpkin right now is in season, but you say just pure pumpkin, right? Again, no seasoning, no additives.
Correct, and not like your pie fillers.
Not pumpkin pie filling.
Correct. So for us, it would be more like the pure pumpkin, and also I'd cross with that with the yam. I do recommend both for good fiber content, so it can help with regularity. You know, the same target for you and I, and also to boost their fiber. What that also helps them is not be so hungry in between meals, and so we can keep them fuller on a low-calorie option throughout the day.
So no pumpkin spice latte. Yes. Sorry, Tex. Okay, and now foods to avoid. So we think of fruit as something good, but that's not necessarily the case when it comes to our pets.
Right. Like our grapes here, they're not labeled, so they don't come, you know, portioned out for animals. But for us, it's safe to pop those in and eat, and it's a great option for us as our side snack. For them, it can actually cause kidney damage to both dogs and cats, and so our raisins are going to be paired with that since they're the same. But you wouldn't really know that based on labeling, and so unless you ask your veterinarian or unless you research, that's one of the biggest pitfalls, because you could quickly reach for that, or one falls on the floor and you underestimate the repercussions that come from that ingestion.
And we, of course, want to keep our pets safe. Sometimes, I mean, I think it's worth underscoring repeatedly that feeding your dog some human foods can land you in the ER.
It can. Rotating their diets can create a number of digestive issues, including pancreatitis, which is a pretty severe medical condition, but vomiting, diarrhea, and changes in their appetite. Plus, they're smart. I know Tex is smart, so they're also going to create some preferences. When we create the options for other opportunities, they might, you know, try to push us to bypass their regular, you know, balanced meal and hold out, which could be a concern too.
Absolutely. You want them to eat their kibble or what they're used to, what they need on in their bowl or plate, right? Yes. So, okay, this is Halloween season. Of course, we talk about limiting our candy intake for our kids and ourselves, but boy, chocolate is detrimental to our pets.
It is. That's our #1 toxin throughout the entire year is chocolate. We see it at least once a week, and the darker the chocolate, the higher the risk, the more potent it is. And for a small dog like Tex, or even smaller, that can be fatal.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
And this isn't a case where people, I mean, I'm assuming, aren't knowingly feeding their dogs chocolate. Dogs like to get into things, right? So the key is lock up that candy.
And the trick-or-treaters, they're not really tall, which means that the treat baskets and things are on the floor, they're accessible, they're within reach, and that's the biggest risk. And so you also have the wrappers, which often are ingested as well, which don't digest, so we might have to go in and retrieve those or at least have some medical treatment.
Yeah, and think about the trash, because that wrapper smell, right, is in the trash, they're still going to go after that.
They don't care. They want it all. It smells amazing, and they want to get it down before you can take it away, oftentimes. And then going into the gums and the sugar-free candies that are often in the bags, that contains xylitol most of the time. So 3 sticks of gum could actually be toxic, almost to lethal for a small dog as well. So it doesn't take much in just a quick second for things to go wrong.
Such a small amount. Those plastic bags, by the way, also pose a danger to your pet. By the way, there is a link on the Scene on Houston Life section of our website if you would like to connect with Dr. Hennessey. Thanks so much for stopping by, helping to keep our furry friends safe.
Always a great conversation.